Is Suge Knight currently incarcerated? Why is Suge Knight behind bars? Suge Knight is an American former record executive, convicted felon, co-founder, and former chief executive officer of Death Row Records. He is considered a key figure in the commercial success of gangster rap in the 1990s. Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. Today we'll be looking at what's really happening to Suge Knight in prison. Yeah, you heard it right. In accordance with California's 3 strikes law, Suge Knight was found guilty of removing a camera and sending a threatening text message to Straight Outta Compton director F. Gary Gray. Suge Knight has been sentenced to 28 years in prison for voluntary homicide stemming from an incident in 2015. In October 2034, he will be parole eligible. Marion Hughes Suge Knight Jr., born on April 19, 1965, is an American former record executive, convicted felon, co-founder, and former CEO of Death Row Records. Knight is 57 years old. He is considered a key figure in the commercial success of gangster rap in the 1990s. This accomplishment is ascribed to the release of the record label's first 2 albums, Dr. Dre's The Chronic in 1992 and Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style in 1993. In 1995, Tupac Shakur began serving a maximum of 4.5 years in prison. In October of that year, Suge Knight made an arrangement with Tupac Shakur in which he paid his bail, released him from prison pending an appeal of his conviction, and signed him to Death Row Records. All Eyes on Me, which was published in 1996, was Shakur's greatest commercial success. In September of that year, after leaving a Mike Tyson boxing match in Las Vegas, a group including Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur assaulted Southside Compton Crips gang member Orlando Anderson. 3 hours later, someone opened fire on the car Knight was driving, fatally wounding Shakur and injuring Knight. Dr. Dre departed Death Row Records shortly before Tupac Shakur's death, and Snoop Dogg followed suit 2 years later, precipitating the label's rapid decline. In the meantime, allegations grew that Suge Knight, in addition to employing gang members, frequently used intimidation and violence in his business dealings. From the late 1990s to the early 2000s, he was imprisoned for assault convictions and associated probation and parole violations. Suge Knight pleaded no contest to voluntary manslaughter in September 2018 and was sentenced to 28 years in prison for a fatal hit and run in 2015. Suge Knight's conviction and prior offenses, theft of a camera, and sending a threatening text to Straight Outta Compton director F. Gary Gray triggered California's 3 strikes law. In October 2034, he will be eligible for parole, and he is a primary suspect in the murder of the notorious B.I.G. In a 1995 federal case, Suge Knight pled no contest and was sentenced to 5 years of probation for assaulting 2 rappers at a Hollywood recording studio during the summer of 1992. Knight was sent to prison on October 22, 1996, pending a hearing on the probation violation that occurred on September 7, 1996, when Suge Knight and his death row entourage, which included Tupac Shakur, attacked Crips gang member Orlando Anderson. On February 28, 1997, he was sentenced to 9 years in prison for violating his probation, but on August 6, 2001, he was granted early access and released from FCI Sheridan. Suge Knight and Cat Williams were detained and charged with second-degree robbery on October 29, 2014, in connection with the alleged theft of a camera from a paparazzi photographer in Beverly Hills, California, the previous month. Doctors discovered a blood clot in Knight's lung while he was incarcerated. Knight and Williams both entered not guilty pleas for robbery. In 2016, the trial for robbery was postponed until the conclusion of an unrelated homicide trial. On January 29, 2015, Suge Knight crashed his car into 2 men in Compton, California, murdering Terry Carter, his friend and co-founder of Heavyweight Records, before fleeing the scene. The second victim, filmmaker Clay Sloan, sustained multiple ankle fractures and cerebral trauma. After an argument on the set of Straight Outta Compton, according to witnesses, Suge Knight followed the men to a fast food restaurant's parking lot where they collided with a vehicle. Knight was seen on surveillance footage running over both victims. Knight stated that his actions were in self-defense. Suge Knight entered a not guilty plea for voluntary manslaughter. The judge sentenced him to 28 years in prison, 22 years for driving over the victim, and 6 years under California's 3 strikes law. Knight is incarcerated at the R.J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego as of February 2023, and he will not be eligible for parole until October 2034. Suge Knight, who was born in Compton, California, to Maxine and Marion Knight Sr., excelled in soccer and track and field at Linwood High School. El Camino College awarded him a football scholarship, but he later transferred to the University of Nevada. Despite not being drafted into the NFL, he served as a reserve quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams during the 1987 players' strike. He then gave up his football career and began working as a concert promoter for Bobby Brown. He also became the security officer for Brown. The origin of his appellation is his childhood name, Sugar Bear. Suge Knight, a purported Bloods gang member, has been accused of assault, making threats, and abduction. Despite serving a few brief prison sentences, he was never incarcerated for an extended period of time, garnering him the nickname the Teflon Don. That is until 2015, when he allegedly committed another crime. So that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so that you never miss our upcoming videos. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section down below. Stay tuned, and we'll catch you in the next video.